for our late IHP show with your favorite 5D mystic, Enlightenment, functional adult. We get to discuss a little bit of this and that as always. So, one, we've been focusing a bit on mysticism, and I actually saw this person who discussed the two paths to enlightenment. And I was like, that's interesting because there's more than one or two or three or four paths to enlightenment. But I do know we have so many different textbooks that people get their information from. So let's talk about enlightenment the human way. And that would be where it involves you, a person, becoming a whole 3-year-old heart. So being able to be in a restorative embodied self, a securely attached 0-1-year-old. And so secure attachment of your own inner adult equates that you are your own safe haven and secure base, which means that you know how to regulate your nervous system. And so if you're in a moment of upset and distress, like when I get my panic attacks, I know how to regulate my nervous system and to speak and to maintain my prefrontal cortex online. So I don't have any type of out-of-body experience, and so no clinical dissociation. In fact, I don't actually have dissociation at all. When I have gone through the experiences, it's actually something I consistently have been able to understand as the expansion one of my energy body. So when we want to talk about mysticism and clairs and enlightenment in that spirituality arena, but when you have moved beyond it, which is where a 5D mystic is at, because we use the data from all of the sciences, and in this case, the human sciences, attachment, trauma, and psychology, personal development. This is my background, social sciences, humanities. But the part that really supported me in the last years has been attachment and trauma educational courses. So my Awakened Embodied Certificate course, my course with Diane Heller and Peter Levine on attachment and trauma. In fact, Peter Levine explains how trauma is stored within our tissues, our muscles, and our bones. Now, people who are not updated with attachment, trauma, and neurobiology information from good educators, and the good educators are the ones who don't give you the spirituality story. They allow you to understand that our human mammalian heritage, they call it birthright, and I would say we don't even need to really use that word. It's our mammalian heritage. So when they look at our nervous system and the way it is made and all of the information updated so far on our lovely skull here, or, the brain, there's a very straightforward path to enlightenment. However, it's not straightforward if you don't have a whole 3-year-old heart, because the whole 3-year-old heart is the indication that you can be yourself with your flaws and imperfections and feel not superior or inferior. So you feel here, if somebody insults you, it's not really an insult. If you make a mistake, it's okay. You don't actually work for love. That's the difference. You have loving acceptance of yourself, and you don't feel flawed or imperfect, but you can understand that you will be flawed and imperfect to other people. And that's where you also have a relationship with all of those basic emotions. So you don't suppress them, and you don't do compulsive activity, fucking, alcohol, drugs, food, and anything that becomes compulsive. It's actually in the DSM, I think, model. They add a lot of it, a lot of different things, and it's not the substances or the actual words that I use. It's a person who will know if it's compulsive or not, if they're on a journey to get to their quality of life. So that would mean that they become aware, I have this pattern when I get stressed. I go out and drink too much. So the extremists, what they do, teenagers, and when I say extremists, I should say the ones who are like, nah, you are an enabler because you unconditionally love people and you don't tell them that they should do this or that. So the people who are martyrs or superiors, those are the extremists of any type of, whether it's the sciences or a religious text or whatever it is, they're yelling at people and telling them how to do life. Those, I call them teenagers. And those teenagers, basically, they pull at each other's same pain point because the story is what they lead with, not the data. And so they don't say, wow, anyone can actually move into enlightenment or anyone can move into mysticism. No, they actually create categories, organize it. And so long story short, you're a human and I'm a human. And if one person can move into enlightenment, so can another. But knowing about your first 3 years of life and the implicit memory that arises, because you are going to be organized based on that. And the first year, if you have no secure attachment, you will have a trust break, trauma, attachment wound, and your infant body will not feel that it is worthy. But really, we can put that to the side. It will just not know secure attachment, which will mean you don't know how to tend to self-soothing in a way that allows you to be in your soothe system. And so you learn to self-soothe in manners that are not conducive to your inner and outer well-being. And so with that being said, any person who chooses to move out of teenage land learns equanimity easily, because it's called the land of I'm not superior and inferior to you, and I won't come tell you what to do with your life. And it's not the substance or the activities, so the fucking, the alcohol, the drugs, or the food. No, it's not that. It's actually when it becomes compulsive, which if you're a good observer of yourself, it would mean you would know, every time this thing happens, I tend to do this other thing. But this other thing isn't actually helping my body feel more energized. I actually don't feel that I'm building my relationships. I don't think I'm actually increasing the quality of life I live or my relationships. I think human suffering is what I'm doing. And wait, I don't have to have pain in order to enlighten. I don't have to do it a fiery way or an ocean. So the point that I'm trying to make is it's actually in here where you can get a hold of your nervous system and then embark on a journey to, first of all, get to know yourself as a person. Once you get your inner adult in the room, and so that's different for every person, because your inner adult is when you can just allow somebody to say, yeah, I think you're stupid. Great. Do you want to keep talking to me or not? Which one is it? And you're actually not being sarcastic because you don't have a broken heart, so you don't need that person's approval. And they're pointing of a finger, you're no longer a child, so you don't find it rude. Oh, and yes, you also know nobody has power over you, no one. That we have a system in place and other things, yes, but unless you think you're manipulable, and if that's the case, then I would say good therapy is a good idea so that you can be allowing yourself to get to your emotional maturity and not be manipulable anymore. Now, some people believe with these sentences that people are going to have to be emotionally manipulable. I can't wait to read more about this book that's going to come out about how we don't have free will. And that's because the way that it's organized is a person was talking about, and it's a neuroscientist or physicist. I forget what his title is. I need to look it up. But I was fascinated because he explained in one of these short videos on YouTube that biology, your ancestors' genes, et cetera, not just one gene, but a composite of aspects, including implicit memory, that will come up. So really, is it free will or is it all of these things? And he makes a lot of sense, because when you look at neurobiology, they will explain to you how trauma memory comes up, fragmentation, a lot of different things that, at least for me, it makes sense. So for a brain who learns about attachment, trauma, and has the ability to actually perceive, experience, and understand enlightenment, as well as mysticism. It's a beautiful sphere, and that of consciousness and being nudged, but it's not an entity from any specific space. It's an intelligence. In fact, it's beautiful when you are able to give, for example, Reiki sessions, as I'm a Reiki master, and to support people on their journey. No, Reiki doesn't heal trauma, because that is actually something that's personal. Reiki can support you, but your mannerisms and your compulsive wheel is for you to be able to become aware of. So that's if you get out of teenage land and into I'm an adult and I can emotionally be mature and unconditionally loving, because I'm not superior and inferior to any other person. I don't need to work for love. I expect to be accepted as I am, and I will express my emotions like a grown-up. I will not throw them at people. So we don't use devils or evils or name calling. Yoga doesn't get a demon out of you. No. There's a healing journey for our implicit stuff, and it's reorganizing it and allowing people to know that they can use their prefrontal cortex. So like with my panic attacks, I can be comfortable in the uncomfortable, or when I'm around people that are in not calibrated nervous systems, I can recalibrate mine. Secure attachment is safe haven, secure base. So knowing how to regulate your nervous system, emotional accountability, regulation, and being able to have nice direct communication like adults do, all the time. Tune in for more.